Good morning, you and Utes. Happy Thanksgiving. So, guess what we are going to talk about today? It is November, right? So, let's talk about the history of Thanksgiving.
We're all familiar with the story of the first Thanksgiving when the Pilgrims invited local Native Americans to share a meal with them. But we bet you didn't know Thanksgiving didn't become an annual tradition until more than 200 years later. That first Thanksgiving in 1621 wasn't just one big meal. It was a 3-day festival of eating, hunting, and other entertainments in honor of the Pilgrims' first successful harvest. The Indians killed 5 deer as gifts for the colonists, so venison was definitely on the first Thanksgiving menu.
Just joking. We are not going to have a history lesson. If you want to know more about Thanksgiving, you have amazing history teachers and you have YouTube. I definitely am not the Thanksgiving expert. What we really need is a brain change, right? So every day I hear, and other people hear, you hear it, I'm sure. We all hear the same question, just asked in different ways, not just from students, from the adults in the building too. What is the question that we always hear? It might be formed like, how I want a trip to Hawaii, or I want an A in this class, or I want a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or I want a part in the play. It's all really the same question. So, what is the question?
In the last 6 months, more than 1,000 books have been published about it. Universities around the world are teaching on it. For 30 years, scientists have been studying it. Governments are appointing cabinet positions to oversee it. The United Nations named an official day after it. Google Analytics prove people are searching for it. In fact, it's one of humanity's oldest pursuits. Happiness. We are wealthier, more educated, and live longer than any previous generation. And as a nation, the U.S. is one of the wealthiest, most powerful, and technologically advanced. And in the most recent World Happiness Report, the United States ranked 17th. And during the Great Depression, when there was little to be happy about, we were actually 18% less depressed than we are now. We have been taught that hard work equals success, which equals happiness, right? Wrong. Research proves happiness is actually a precursor to success, not the other way around. Did you know? Neuroscience proves that we are hardwired to perform at our best when we are happy. Studies show that happy, positive, optimistic people earn higher incomes, set and achieve more aggressive goals, experience less stress, remain calm in high-pressure situations, are more energetic, recover from illness faster, and live longer. Happiness is serious business. When we engage in positive, real-life relationships, our bodies release chemicals that actually help reduce anxiety and increase concentration and focus. How you feel and your attitude toward life all stem from your thoughts, actions, and where you focus your time and energy. Yet we are constantly surrounded by negativity. If we want things to change, we have to create the change. And we start by choosing positivity and happiness. Just imagine the possibilities if there were more happy and positive people in this world. A world with more peace, optimism, and compassion is possible. Like a pebble thrown into a pond, it only takes one to create the ripple of happiness. Happiness is so contagious and infectious that one positive person can spread happiness to more than 1,000 people. That means all it takes to create change on a local, regional, state, country, global scale is one person. And research shows that just by spreading happiness, you actually become happier. You can choose happiness and choose to share it. You can be the catalyst to spread it directly and indirectly. Are you that one? It starts with you, yet it's bigger than you. Happiness is bold. It is courageous, audacious, and challenging. You have the power to choose happiness and to spread it. Join the movement. Share the movement. Be the one who makes the difference. And live happy. In the last
So, how can we choose happiness? That seems like it's really easy. Just choose to be happy, but how can you choose to be happy? So, this is a good time. Happiness kind of equals thankfulness. So, we're going to talk about thankfulness and how it reflects to happiness. How can you choose happiness? First, before you know how you choose happiness, you've kind of got to know how your brain works. So, our brains are kind of interesting. They are really set up to look for negative. We are hardwired to be negative. Our brains do that to keep us safe. So we were originally watching for the tiger or the lion that was going to come and eat us or those dangerous berries. So that's good. The problem is that we don't really encounter a lot of things like panthers and tigers coming to eat us, but our brain doesn't know that. So our world is really more like this, cute little kittens. However, we still tend to see the negative side of things. However, there's no rule that we have to view the world this way. Our brains are incredibly powerful and we have the mental ability to overcome these unhappy and unhelpful thoughts. So how do we overcome the negative thoughts? We reset our happiness point. How do we reset our happiness point? And this is where Thanksgiving comes into play. This is the easiest way to reset your happiness point. Here it is. We're going to change your brain right now. Get ready. Here it's going. This is how we do it. Ask yourself right now, what are you grateful for at this moment? Right here, right now. Just asking yourself that question is powerful enough to actually change your brain chemistry. If you just asked yourself that question in your head, you just changed your brain chemistry. When we take time to ask what we're grateful for and notice what we're grateful for, neural circuits are activated in our brain. The production of dopamine and serotonin increases in these neurotransmitters then travel the neural pathways in our brain to the happy center of our brain, similar to antidepressants. So gratitude is actually a natural antidepressant. And amazingly enough, it actually can rewire our brain. It's something we see plainly in everyday life. The first time you do it, it's going to be hard. It's like walking through the woods and trying to make a path through the woods. The first time you go through it, you have to push those branches out of the way. You have to be careful and very deliberate and watch every step. But the more times you go down the path, the more defined it is and the easier it is to follow. Your brain works the same way. The more you do something, the more your brain pathway is activated and the less effort it takes to stimulate that pathway the next time. Kind of like a muscle. The stronger, the more you stimulate those neural pathways, the stronger and more automatic they become. Just like exercising your brain muscle or your gratitude muscle. Because of this, what we put our attention on grows. If we are constantly looking for the negative and searching for problems, the neural pathways for negative thinking grows and becomes stronger. But practicing gratitude can shift our attention to look for what is right instead of looking for what is wrong. Over time, this encourages our brain to consistently look for positive things in our lives instead of negative. So the more that you look for the positive, the more your brain gets strengthened, the more those neural pathways get deeper and those gratitude muscles get stronger, and then the happier you are. So why is this important, especially for teenagers? Well, researchers have shown that teens who feel more gratitude have fewer symptoms of depression. Makes sense, right? If you're always looking for the good stuff. Higher GPAs. That's kind of different. More resilience, meaning that you bounce back from hard times faster and easier. And fewer headaches and stomach aches, and stronger relationships, greater life satisfaction, and less materialism. You're happier with what you have, and you're not constantly looking for something else. And the other great thing about gratitude is that it lasts. That change in your brain lasts. A researcher in India did a study with people who were being treated in counseling for anxiety and depression. They were all having the same counseling. He asked half the participants to spend 20 minutes before their first counseling sessions to write a letter to someone expressing their gratitude, and they did this 3 times. They didn't even have to mail the letter. So that's just 1 hour of gratitude practice. 3 months later, after the counseling was over, they came back and they got in a brain scanner and they did a gratitude task. Researchers found that they showed significantly more brain activity in the gratitude areas of their brain. So this suggests that the more you practice and you give your brain at feeling, expressing gratitude, the more the feelings will come to you spontaneously and they will last. That's 1 hour of gratitude practice changed these people's brains 3 months later. So, why is this important? Because gratitude can spiral out of control. The more thankful we feel, the more happy chemicals our brain will give us, right? The more that we act nicely or pro-socially to others, causing them to feel grateful, and their brains will squirt out happy chemicals, and they will be nicer, and so on, till what happens? Mass happiness, right? Mass happiness. That's what we want, mass happiness. So now, let's change our brain. Well, let's change your brain and my brain too. Now, first question. Do you have arms and legs? This is an easy one. Do you have arms and legs? Yes, you do. So this is Nick Vujicic. I can't say his name, I never can. Nick Vujicic was born with no arms and no legs, and yet he focuses on being positive. He is an international speaker. He's married, has children, he swims, he does everything. And he says, I have never met a bitter person who was thankful, or a thankful person who was bitter. So we can be thankful right now that we have arms and legs. Do you have access to water and food? So I want the young ladies to stand up. All of the girls, stand up right now. Okay, you're standing up. I want you to think about this. Do you know that the women in Kenya spend 4.5 hours a week carrying between 44 and 110 pounds of water a day for their daily use in their home? And girls, this isn't the guys who do this. This is the girls that do this. So just being able to have access to water that is clean and that we can walk to a drinking fountain or food in your fridge, we can be grateful that we are going to have lunch today given to us. So let's be grateful that we have access to food and water. What about this? Do you have change in your pocket? Or could you find change, enough change to maybe buy a pop? If you do, if you have food in your fridge or clothes on your back or a roof over your head, you are richer than 75% of the population of the world. Just the fact that you have enough change to buy a pop should make you grateful. What about this one? Do you have access to education? This time, young men, I want you to stand up. So all the young men, stand up. So, do you know that it is estimated that over 150 million children between the ages of 5 and 14 years old are engaged in child labor to support their families? And they have access to no education. They do not have any education. Young ladies, I want you to stand up. Do you have to fight armed militants to be able to come to school? This is Malala Yousafzai, and she was shot in the head on her school bus because she refused to give up education. So the fact that you can come to school today, you can be grateful just to come to school. So let's think about it this way. What do I have to be grateful for this minute? So I will start. And teachers, I'm just giving you warning that it's going to be your turn next. Students, if you want to, you'll have a chance to do this too. But um, I'm going to start by saying that I am grateful for my wonderful career that allows me to come to work every day with amazing coworkers and teachers and aides. And you students especially make my day amazing. I'm grateful for our custodial staff who maintains our building. And students, did you hear me say maintain? They are here to keep our building looking beautiful. Nowhere in their job description does it say that they should have to pick up garbage that should be put in the garbage can. Um, you guys are all big enough to know what a garbage can is. Yet I see these amazing, hardworking men and women doing that every day. I would love to start a revolution out there. All of you students, next time you see somebody throwing garbage on the floor, instead of putting it in the garbage, I want you to tell them to pick it up and grow up and that their mama does not live in this building. Pick up your garbage and be grateful for custodial staff who do that. I'm grateful for our wonderful lunch staff. The grilled cheese sandwich and tomato soup is my happy thought whenever it comes. So, aren't we grateful that we have access to food every day? Okay, so now, teachers, it's your turn. I want you to stop this presentation for a few minutes and I want you to thank your students for being here. And students, you can have the opportunity if you want to thank your teachers for being here. So go ahead and stop for just a few minutes, and teachers, go ahead and change your brain and make yourself happier today by thanking your students for being here today. Without them, you would not have a job. Okay, so hopefully you have had a chance to change some neural pathways and to thank each other. Hopefully there was some students who were brave enough to thank their teachers today. However, if there wasn't a student in your class that was brave enough to thank you, hopefully this will help. We are going to rewire our brain by doing some gratefulgrams. I noticed on the school website you can send a gratefulgram, and this is our way to send a gratefulgram. We are going to make a chain of gratefulness that hopefully is going to stretch all the way across the Commons for all of November. So each of your teachers should have some links in that chain. I want you to begin by writing a gratefulgram or a thank you to someone at the school, another student, a teacher, a staff member. Then give your link to your teacher and just a little note, I would be seriously grateful if you would staple your chains together and save me a little labor and some carpal tunnel syndrome. But let's put together a chain of gratefulgrams and let's rewire our brains. And just the simple activity has actually changed our neural pathways. And hopefully, this is going to be like that little baby, that mass happiness. So, everyone, have a grateful and happy day and a happy and safe Thanksgiving.